Hilchas Meilah Perek Shmini. Hapoelim shein oisim behegdish. Now, Bechlal, the din is that kisavi bekerem reyacha, the certain dinim sometimes where a poel is allowed to eat from the produce that he's working on. That doesn't apply to hegdish. That's a din of kisavi el kerem reyacha, only by reyacha, not hegdish. So that din that a poel is allowed to eat doesn't apply to hegdish. Now, what happens if hegdish made up? In other words, he said, you work for us, and the Meilah you'll be able to eat from the produce, from the gregor sil hegdish. So the din is that's also not allowed. Why not? Because be'emes, everything that belongs to hegdish is the hegdish. Now, if you give money to hegdish, so by giving money to hegdish, you're being mechal the hegdish. In other words, the gizber takes the money, and he gives you the hegdish. So the kedusha of the item, let's say this gregor sil hegdish, the kedusha of the gregors is chal on that money. Now you're giving work. Let's say you're working for hegdish. So the din is that the hegdish is not nischal on your work. So in other words, even though you're giving the hegdish work, but lapel, the hegdish that's being given back to you still remains hegdish. It's not nischal through the work. That's the din that ein mechal nis a hegdish ala malacha, which the Rambam is going to say in halacha gimel. That's the yesod ha'inyanim. That you can't pshat is that you give hegdish work and hegdish will give you back something that's hegdish and it'll be nischal because you gave them work. Work is not something which could cause to be mechal hegdish. Money could, but work can't. Now, so how could hegdish pay a person? So the answer is the hegdish pays with money, not with an item. And there's a psatnai bezin that the money that hegdish gives for the work that they receive is lechatchila not hegdish. It's a special din in money that when hegdish pays a worker, so that money is not hegdish. But it's not the pshat is that hegdish could take something which is mamash an item of hegdish and be mechalel it on something that's own work. That's the Yisei Advarim. So again, hapelim shein oisen behegdish. Pelim that are working for hegdish. Is afal pi sheposku yimoyim mezenis. Hegdish made up with them that they could eat. They could eat from the hegdish. Is leyechlu mi gregor shel hegdish. They're not allowed to eat from the gregor shel hegdish. Because lapel, those gregors are gregor shel hegdish. And they weren't nischal. You didn't give hegdish anything. And hegdish can't give you something which is hegdish. It has to be nischal. So if you give them money, it could be nischal. But over here, you didn't give them money. You gave them work. And Meilah, so they didn't become nischal. So that yechlu migregor shel hegdish. Vim ochlin, if you did eat it, hegdish told you could eat it, and you ate it as malu. Ella, so what has to happen? Allah hegdish neislam meimazenis. Hegdish is allowed to pay you for work. As we said, hegdish is allowed to pay you for work. They're not allowed to give you items. An item that's hegdish is hegdish, and it can be nischal through work. Masha'inkin money, a money of hegdish, the psatnai bezdin, the hegdish could pay for its work. Meilah hegdish could go ahead and give you money, and with that money you could buy food, whatever it is. Hegdish is allowed to pay you money, but they're not allowed to pay you produce. That's the number one. Halacha beis, hadosh kashini hegdish. You're thrashing it with a behemoth. So normally the din is lisach smusher b'dishay. But that doesn't apply when you're talking about when you're being dosh kashini hegdish. A dosh kashini hegdish harei ze choisim zapora shenamar leisach smusher b'dishoy. So we learn now dayish haroyle. But Asha'inkin, since it's hegdish, so the aim is not allowed to eat it. So Meilah the issue of lisachsim doesn't apply. So we're learning is the similarity is a poil is not allowed to eat hegdish, and al there is a behem is also not allowed to eat hegdish. Halacha gimel. Ein mechalin is a hegdish ala al malacha, el ala mois, which is really the yesed of halacha aleph. You can't be mekadesh hegdish on malacha, el ala mois. Ketzad. Uman she'asa malacha behegdish b'mana. An uman worked for hegdish and he did something which he deserves a mana for. Ein noisnly behemes hegdish, a talis hegdish, bischori. You can't go ahead and give him an item of hegdish because that item is hegdish. And in Meilah, when you're going to give him the item of hegdish, it's still going to be hegdish. It's not going to become uis hegdish, even though you gave it to him. Meilah, he's not going to be able to use it. Ad shemechalin oisin al hamois. Because you have to take money and say this money is going to be used to pay this uman. And then you say this money, which was going to be used to pay this uman, is, so to speak, we're being mechalel the behem on that money. So the money is going to hegdish, and the behem is going instead of that money. So that money is already uis hegdish because it was given to the uman, even though the uman doesn't have it in his hands, but it was given to the uman. Then hegdish goes ahead and takes the behem of hegdish and the mischal on that money. The money, which is chulin, is given to Hegdish, and b'mkeim zeh, the behema becomes chulin. Ad shemechal neisan al hamois. V'achar she'asu chulin, and after the behema becomes chulin, and those behema becomes chulin because you first had money which became the uman's money. Then you went ahead and were mechal the behema on that money which was money of chulin. So then it's neis luma b'scharu. If they're maskim, you could give them this behema. And then the chayzim leichem men behema v'trumas halishka. If you want to buy a behema from the truma chadasha, and you have still a behema from the truma yishana, so that's the eitzah. The eitzah was that you'd give them the money, and then you go ahead and be machal this behema on the money. Then you give the behema to the uman, and then you go ahead and use the truma chadasha to buy that behema. V'chayzim leichem men behema v'trumas halishka. But the Nekudas Advarim is that you cannot pay back a worker for Hegdish with an item, because that item is Hegdish, and that item will remain Hegdish, even though you're using it to pay back. You could only pay back with money. And if you want to pay back with an item, you have to take money and, so to speak, designate it that this is going to be paid back. So that money becomes chulin, because you could pay an uman with money of Hegdish and becomes chulin. Then you could go ahead and be machal that item which you want to give as a payment on that money of chulin, and then give that item to the worker. Halacha dalet. Kshebainen b'migdash, when they build in the migdash, ein loichen eitzim v'avonim in a hegdish. That's number one. In other words, l'chura normally would be that you say that the hegdish should buy supplies for the binyan. They should buy supplies for the binyan, and that's those supplies which are going to be used for the binyan should become hegdish, and then you'll work with those supplies. So he says no. Kshebainen b'migdash, ein loichen eitzim v'avonim in a hegdish, to use hegdish dike eitzim v'avonim for building. That's number one. And also, while you're building it, it's not hegdish either. Because you're building, you're using chulin dika supplies, and you're building also chulin dika a binyan, the Meilah. What happens is you use chulin dika supplies to build, and you build in the eifin that it becomes the Meilah still chulin. Why? We're concerned that maybe while you're building, you'll be nana from the tzela binyan, which would be aser. So therefore, we're concerned about that. It might be that a person, the workers, will be nana from hegdish while they're working. So therefore, it was instituted that they should take the supplies. The Meilah be chulin. It shouldn't be hegdish dika supplies, and also the binyan that you're building shouldn't be l'shem hegdish. Then va'achar sheyishlam binyan. So now you are mashlim a binyan, and that binyan that belongs to the chulin, it's a chulin dika binyan, and it's a chulin dika supplies, is mechalin moisa hegdish ala binyan. So then you go ahead and pay for that, for the supplies, and for the building, you pay with moisa of hegdish, and the binyan becomes holy. So and the mois goes out l'chulin. Mechalin moisa hegdish ala binyan. And the tzorcha gizbarim le'etzim le'kodesh lo'isei hayem. If there was something, it wasn't that they were building something for a long time. It was something of a particular day they needed to do something with eitzim. L'kodesh le'isei hayem bilvad. In tzorch nachamov, in tzorcha gizbarim le'etzim le'kodesh le'isei hayem bilvad. So then, le'chanesim moisa kodesh, you could go ahead and buy a little wood that you need for that day. Mimoisa hegdish shereinim is achrim yomim. They're not going to go ahead and postpone it for days. It's not really a chash, since it's something which is only going to be used for that day. So therefore, you could go ahead and buy the item that you need to use for building for hegdish, and it becomes a hegdish item. And there's no chash or someone you shouldn't, because you're going to be using it that day. If you're going ahead and building a building, so Meilah, so then you don't want to buy supplies, which is going to take a while, and then start building almanas that it's hegdish. So rather you buy supplies, you take supplies which is chulin, everything is chulin, the building is chulin, and then once it's chulin, now you're giving it over to Kodesh, so Kodesh gives the money, and Meilah, the chulin, everything becomes Kodesh, and the money becomes chulin. Halacha hey, kshepoiskin in umnen, livnis b'migdash ba'azoras, poiskin imoim, kach v'kach ama b'kach v'kach sela. So they make up with him that he's going to build, and this is the amount that they're going to pay him per amma. Per amma they're going to pay him. Now there's a concern that, let's say they made up with him to pay him a certain amount. For 10 ammas, they're going to pay him $100. Let's say. They'll pay him $100 for 10 ammas. The pale they're going to measure, and they'll measure that it was 10 amas, and they'll give him $100, and in reality it was only 9 amas. So Lepel, he got an extra $10 because they made up $100 for 10 amas, and they made a mistake in the cheshbon. So Meilah, it comes out that he got more than he should have gotten, which is a certain level of Meilah. It's not Meilah mamish, because Lepel, when they give it to him, they're being mechal on the chulin, and Meilah, even if they mechal more or less, it's no longer hegdish. But al kol panim, it means that he's getting money from hegdish shalei. So in order to make sure to Bavarin that he certainly shouldn't get any more money from hegdish that he doesn't really deserve. So the deal is that they make up that the amma is a smaller amma. There's two types of ammas. A regular amma is an amma bashisha tvachim, which is 24 boys. Each tefach is 4 boys. And a smaller amma is an amma bas hey tvachim, which is 20 boys. So they made up with him that they're going to pay him this and this amount for, let's say, we'll tell him $100 for 10 ammas. But what kind of amas? An amma bas esrim boys. So they committed themselves to pay more. That if he's going to have 10 amas of 20 boys each, so he's going to have to get this and this amount of money. Now Lepel, later on when they actually give him, they don't actually give him that amount, which is the amount for the amas bas chamisha tvachim esrim boys. They pay him as if they would have made up for a regular amma, which is bas esrim ba'arbetz boys. What did they accomplish? You accomplish that if, let's say, they measured it wrong, so Meilah, they actually over measured. They thought that he made 10 amas, and Lepel, he only made 9 amas, but they're measuring 10 amas of bas esrim ba'arba. They're measuring 10 amas of esrim ba'arba. In reality, it was 9 amas of esrim ba'arba. But 9 amas of esrim ba'arba is anyways already 10 amas of bas esrim. Because it's certainly 10 amas of bas esrim. 9 amas of esrim v'arba is more than 10 amas of bas esrim. So Meilah, so Bezdin won't be cheated. That was the fact. That's what you gain. What you gain over here is that you make up a smaller measurement, and Lepel you measure with a larger measurement. So therefore, if you make a mistake, you're certainly sure that you're not going to end up giving him less. And he knows that this is what the deal was. So Meilah, it's not like someone's being mafsid over here. He knows that they're making up the deal that officially the chiyuv is for bas esrim amma, and Lepel he's going to be getting bas esrim ba'arbamas, which is less than what they made up. And in case they make a mistake, so that's nichol in the mistake. So Meilah he's not going to be overpaid. Nachma, let's read halacha. Shepoiskin in a umnim livnis b'migdash bazaris is poiskin in mind you make up a deal kach v'kach amma b'kach v'kach stella. You'll build this and this amount of amas, and you'll get this and this amount of salam. And what kind of amas are we talking about? The deal that you make up with him is amma bas esrim etzba. That if you build this amount of amas of bas esrim etzba, which is a smaller amma, which means he's being paid better, so then he will get this and this amount of salam. Lepel, when they pay him bepeil, then you have to pay him. You say, how many amas did you actually build? Let's pay you. Is moishchen and mechashvel and ba'ama g'dela. You measure how many amas did he build, not with that amma bas esrim amma. You end up, you reckon with the amma g'dela bas esrim arbetz boys. And Meilah, he's going to really get paid less than what you made up l'chatchila, which he knew already l'chatchila. What's the purpose of this cheshbon? Because lav dafke the Mashiach, the measurement is exact. So Meilah, we're concerned that maybe if you're going to have the same amount that you made up and the same amount that you're measuring, so you may end up measuring and thinking that it's more and really was less. So he's getting more money than he really deserves, and that money is coming from Hegdish to make sure that he doesn't get any more money than what he really deserves. So they make up with less. So basically, he's owed more money, and they measure with more. So Meilah, they're giving him less. So even if they make a mistake, but that mistake will be corrected because really he's owed more. He's owed more because he's owed ba'ama bas chamisha tvachim, bas esrim etzbois. Halacha vov. Tonight Bezdin sheyu hakoyanim ne'oisim b'melach u'be'etzim b'achilas korban she'echlim b'chalkim. So there's those the basar that the can receive, which they eat with the eat of the b'sara korbanis, so they could use the etzim of the migdosh and aldera the melach of the migdosh in order to help them eat their own food, in order to cook their food or to salt their food. They could use the melach and the etzim of the migdosh. Avol leitnu amelech hamikdash b'chulin shalem. If they want to eat chulin, there's a musig of eating ala seva that's supposed to eat kachim ala seva. So Meilah, they're eating chulin in order to be able to eat the kachim ala seva. So for the chulin that they want to eat in order to be able to eat the kachim ala seva, they can't use not the eitzim of the mikdash and not the melech of the mikdash. Now melech shall gabi o aver, when you put melech on top of an aver, which is going on the mizbeach, so Meilah by that melech becomes part of the aver, so to speak, just like and Meilah there's Meilah on that melech. Shall gabi a kevish, however, the melech which was on the kevish, let's say it fell on the kevish, spilled on the kevish, or sharesh mizbeach, where over there was melech and they would be melech with that melech. So there's a Meilah. There's no Meilah not on the melech which is ala kevish, and not on the Meilah, not on the melech which is a reisha mizbeach. Masha'ink in the melech which is on an aver, there's a din Meilah. Halacha ches. Now here the Rambam is really finishing off Hilchas Meilah, which is really also the finishing of Sefer Aveda. And there's certain svarim where the Rambam finishes off with divrei, which is not mamish halacha. It's not mamish halacha. It's divrei. I don't know what to call it. Agoda. It's divrei. In other words, to understand the havana of the mitzvah, the havana pnimis of the mitzvah. The Rambam finishes off like this Hilchas Meilah, and al derez he finishes off Hilchas Tmura. So here, which is also the end of a sefer. Halacha ches. Roy la'odom lehizboinen b'mishpatei ha'teira ha'gdesha v'leida seifin yonam kifi keche. Person is supposed to be mizboinen in mishpatei ha'teira, teira ha'gdesha, and to understand seifin yonam as much as he can. So knows he's supposed to be mizboinen in mishpatei ha'teira to understand the havon of mishpatei ha'teira. In Mashal Hilchas Tmura, the Rambam explains what's the havon of the mitzvah of Tmura. Here, the Rambam is not talking about he's not explaining the Havon of Hilchas Meilah. He's going to use Hilchas Meilah for another inyan. But the Meilah, he's telling us a general inyan, which is not learning from Hilchas Meilah. Saying, Roy la'odom lehizbeinim b'mishpatei ha'teira ha'gdesha v'leida seifin yonam kifi kecha, to understand the mishpatei ha'teira, how much he's able to. V'davar shalei yimsu leitam v'lei yedo le'ila, he will find something in Torah which he won't understand. In other words, there's a inyan in Torah which seems to him like beyond understanding. Al yehi kal beinov. It shouldn't be something light in his eyes. In other words, to think that since he doesn't understand it, so it's really not so important. V'liyaris lalis al Hashem pen yifritz bey. I'm not sure what lalis al Hashem means. He shouldn't. What does it mean in this context? Taste this. Lalis al Hashem pen yifritz bey. We're talking about mishpatei ha'teira, and he's going up lalis al Hashem. We're talking about going up la Hashem and having an opinion about mishpatei ha'teira. You should realize that it's something above his understanding. He should layaris lalis al Hashem, to go up to Hashem and have opinions about things that are above him, bepashtus. Because pen yifritz bey. V'leitahei machshavte bey. You shouldn't think about the mishpatei ha'teira ki machshavte b'sh'ar divrei yichid. Because he should understand that the mishpatei ha'teira is above him, and even though he doesn't understand it, but he has to understand that the Eibishter gave it, and he shouldn't have chas v'sholem an opinion of kilo of kalus in mishpatei ha'teira. Leitei machshavte bey ki machshavte b'shar divrei yichid. Now the Ram brings Meilah. Be'u re'ei kama ichmira Teira b'Meilah. Teira was very machmer about Meilah. So what do we learn from that? My meitzim v'avonim v'ofer v'efer. Madach, we're talking about things that are eitzim v'avonim v'ofer v'efer. Nevertheless, kivin shenikra Shem adeinu elam aleim. B'dvarim b'lvad. Someone gave it a Shem of the Eibush. He called it. He was magdashit. Is this kachu? So it becomes holy. It becomes kaddish. Anyone that's neig minichel in these dvarim, which are seemingly very pashta things, eitzim avonim v'ofer v'efer, but since they were nikra Shem adeinu elam aleim, so therefore they became kaddish. It's a din of Meilah. V'afilo yishegig is tzarech kapara. Is kal v'chemer madach something which is an eitzim v'avonim v'ofer v'efer, which kivish nikra Shem Hashem. So there's a din of Meilah kal v'chemer le mitzvah shechokek lanu HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which the Eibush to set up for us. Shalayiva to adam bem shalayada time, that a person shouldn't give it means to kick at it, in other words to disregard it, to look at it with zilzul, because he doesn't understand the time. He shouldn't put over things which are not true. Al Hashem, he shouldn't think about mishpatei ha'teira the same way he thinks about divrei chel. He should realize that this is something that the Eibush is a thing, And the Eibush is a thing he has to look at and treat with the greatest respect. Harinemer b'teiro shmartem is kol chukesai, v'es mishpotei basisim esim. So the pasuk says, ushmartem is kol chukesai, v'es kol mishpotei basisim esim. Amru chacham, so what's b'shat ushmartem basisim? Litin shmira v'asiya lachukim k'mishpotem. So there has to be sai shmira and sai asiya to chukim and like to mishpotem. Shmartem is kol chukesei, v'es kol mishpotei basisim esim. That there should be shmira v'asiya lachukim k'mishpotem. V'asiya yidui. What is yidua? Asiya yidua. V'hi sheyasa chukim. What is a shmira? What is the taich that hey shmira v'asiya lachukim? What does shmira mean? V'shmira means she is zor b'hem. And v'liyidam eshem chusim ha'mishpotim. A person shouldn't think that's the pshat she is zor, but he should be careful in his attitude towards chukim. We're not talking about only doing the chukim. We're talking about the attitude towards chukim. V'liyidam eshem chusim ha'mishpotim. What are mishpatim? Things which is very clear. The benefit of the mishpatim is very clear. What are chukim? What's together with chukim? Chukim chakti. Something that the Eibishter made a choik. The Yetzer bothers a person. They have tinus, kigain, yisub sar chazir, or basa b'cholav, ve'egla arufa, or paraduma, v'sorya mishtaleach. So these are the chukim which the Umas Elam and the Yitzer Shaladim Nekfe. V'kam hoy David HaMelech Mitzayir, min haminim u'min ha'akum shoy mishiv malachukim. They would come and have tinus, and they would speak things about the chukim. V'chol zman shoy yireit v'neisei, b'tshuvas ha'sheker, which all their time is based on their seichel, which is on their limited seichel, because we're talking about chukim of the Eibishter, which is based on their limited seichel. So these are false shuvas hasheker, which they say based on their unlimited seichel. And is what would David HaMelech do? So when they would do this, and he would be mitzdayer, hayemesav dveikas b'teira, shenemer tafulai sheker zaydim. So what did he do? When there was Tafulai Sheker Zaydim, when the Zaydim brought on Dvarim Shkarim, which were things, which the Rambam's teaching that it means a zilzul in the chukim, so what it caused was B'chaliv Etzi B'kudecha, V'nem Rishabinyan, Kol Mitzvisecha Emuna, Sheker Defuni Azreini. So Meilah is the Sheker Defuni, those people that are tining against the chukim, and Kol Mitzvisecha Emuna. The David HaMelech believed, and in saying that the mitzvahs are amunah, you have to have the amunah to understand that since these are mitzvahs Hashem, so in Meilah they're beyond our understanding. The Chol HaKabanis Kulam is also Miklal HaChukim. Amru Chacham. Kol HaKabanis Kulam is Miklal HaChukim. Amru Chacham, Shebishvil Avidas HaKorbanis Eilu Meimet. Shebasiyas HaChukim VaMishpatim Zeichem HaYishorim L'chai Eilu Mabo. V'ktira Tei Mitziva HaChukim Shnem HaShmartem V'Schukei So Meilah, we see the importance of chukim. So the Rambam is saying that we learn from the inyan of Meilah, that just like we see that by Meilah. The Roy La'adam Le'izbeinin is not fabun with learning from Meilah. No, first of all, Roy La'adam Le'izbeinin, the beginning of the halacha. Mishpedei Ateiret, to know Seif and Yonah. Suppose the person has to understand the Seif and Yonah, like the Rambam speaks in Hilchas Tmura, that the inyan of mitzvahs is in order to be miyasher a person. All the mitzvahs that the Eibishter gives is to be yasher a person, including chukim. That's number one. And then the Rambam continues that if you don't have a tam, v'davar shaleim tzulei tam, so ayehei kal beinav. It's l'chura two separate yonim. First of all, a person is supposed to think about leida seif and yonim. Then there's another thing that a person davar doesn't find a tam, he shouldn't. Leim tzulei ila is ayehei kal beinav, and that you have to learn out from Meilah. Just like we see by Meilah, that the Torah was very, very makpid of someone that uses something which is nikra Shem Hashem Aleim, even though we're talking about Adainim, we're talking about something which is Avonim, the offer, the Efer, of a Kivan, Shnikra Shem Adeina Elam Aleim. So Niskachu, and someone that's Neig, meaning Chel is Moal, and he has to bring a Kapara. So Al Derez there, certainly, when you get the mitzvahs, that the Eibishter was Chuke Chakakti, the Eibishter was Cheke Chukim, that a person certainly has to have very strong derech eret for the Chukim, and he brings the raya from what Chukim to of. The Karbonis is the union of Chukim, and B'schus HaKarbonis, Elam Emet. And chukim fakir, the Torah writes about chukim, shmartim. So that's the title, shmartim is chukesa. The shmira lechukim means having that derech eretz for chukim and understanding that it's the chukim of the Eibishter, not the chas v'sholem, be moil in the chukim in the sense of being yivad behem and not having the proper derech eretz for the chukim. Slikalu hilchas Meilah b'siyata d'shmaya, and nigmar sefer shmini v'hu sefer avodah. There was also nigmar the sefer shmini, which is sefer avodah.